Good evening, everyone, and welcome to round two of the Rysa Mazda MX5 Champion here on iRacing, presented by Rysa Racing and the ASiMRacing Network. My name is Anthony. I'm here with my co-host Jose Cabrera, and here we're going to see some pretty good racing tonight. Here, Jose, what are we looking for? What are we looking to see?
The MX5 at Okayama. We're back, and it's gonna be another fun MX5 night. Okayama's a fun track with this car. It's a pretty short track, but I think it's a track that lends itself well to this type of car and this type of um, kind of a I don't want to say beginner or basic, but it's back to basics with the Miata is what I want to say, and I think this track lends itself perfectly to that.
Definitely. This is one of my personal favorite tracks here on iRacing. Before I joined iRacing, I didn't even know about this track, but it's quickly grown to be one of my favorites. I didn't even know that back then in the early 90s it was used in Formula One a couple of times.
I
It
did
was
not know that.
pretty, yeah, pretty, yeah, Senna did drive on it and some other neat stuff as well. Schumacher has the record on it right now. I'm looking at it here. And it's a relatively new track too, opening in just 1990. So, but yeah, like I said, it's quickly grown to be one of my favorite tracks here. It has lots of space to for overtakes, some pretty tight turns here to challenge yourself, and some pretty easy turns so you can feel nice and satisfied. But nonetheless, we've got practice on the way here with about less than 2 minutes to go. Let's go ahead and see what's going on the leaderboard here. Your current leaderboard and current championship leader is Alessandro De Tullio. Second is Frankie Barroso, the real MX5 driver with some real life experience. Third on the list is Bobby Ross, who's quickly shown lots of improvements from his beginnings here on iRacing. Fourth is Eduardo Pecorini from all the way from El Salvador. And fifth, one of the iRacing newcomers as well, is Cesar Lapointe, a local Miami driver here as well. And if we can go ahead and look through the rest of the leaderboard here, we've got see, we might actually we don't have time to see everybody's car for the evening, but some pretty interesting looking at the leaderboard here. First and third are only separated by a couple tenths, while the rest, there's a strong mid pack here, very tightly packed from sixth all the way on down to about ninth. So that's going to be interesting to watch as the race progresses on later on this evening, Jose.
And it looks like we might be missing some people from the practice session, specifically Rudy. I'm not seeing him here on my timing. Are you seeing him there on your timing? And
Give me 1 second. No, not yet. Not
looks like
yet.
he might be jumping in right when it comes to qualifying just in a few minutes here. But as
Probably finishing up.
I think the number 10 car there got a little sideways there. He's retiring back to the pits.
Rudy's probably finishing up dinner here, but Frankie
Yeah.
here in that sweet Mountain Dew car is definitely got his ways going. He's only 6 tenths off of the leader, De Tullio. And that will conclude practice, Jose.
That's exactly what I was going to say. We're just wrapping up with practice here. We're going to be lone qualified tonight, so about 10-minute qualifying session. Drivers will have about 5 laps, I believe it is, to have their chances to lay down a qualifying lap, and then 8 laps for our first heat, and another 8 laps for our second heat with a 5-minute warm-up in between.
If this is your first time joining us, generally on the Rysa series, we have lone qualifiers set up, meaning we will not be able to see the qualifying session. Drivers will be qualifying on their own terms in their own track, so to say. So right now, as we speak, the drivers are heading out for their out laps. Soon they will be going around for their flying laps, and before you know it, we will be seeing the completion of that first flying lap and the time showing up on the leaderboards. The promise is that they will do a clean lap. If you don't see any drivers immediately on the leaderboard, they'll probably have to do a second, maybe a third lap just to get a lap in. But we only have about 10 minutes, so that maybe be able to squeeze about 5 laps for every driver. That's another challenge that they will have tonight, Jose.
Yep, I've gone ahead and I've cleared off the race information screen there. We've got up the timing board up again, and as of yet, we still have not seen any of our drivers out on track. I'm sure just in a few seconds here we'll start seeing, I'll start seeing some lap times here on my timing screen, and you, the viewer, will start seeing some timings on the leaderboard here directly on the stream.
Definitely. This is definitely one of the favorites of the tracks along the iRacing circuit. Lots of different series use this track in their default scheduling. The Miatas being the more popular ones, and I do believe some other circuits, just like such as the Fanatec Global Challenge, and believe some of the F3 series use it as well.
Yeah, I think that this track, like I said, it lends itself very well to this type of driving. Not just the MX5, but it's also a great track for the Skip Barber. A lot of the training that I've done was in the Skip Barber, specifically at this track, both on the full circuit and the short circuit. The Skip Barber on this track, it really forces you to focus on your car control, and this track, it's not so complex where you're overwhelmed, but you can really get out there in any kind of car and focus on the small amount of corners, relatively speaking, but they're corners that can be attacked and they could be understood. I think a little bit easier than the more complex tracks.
Definitely, and it's one of those tracks where momentum is key, from going all the way down from the straightaways to into the tight turns. Definitely going to be a good track to learn the fundamentals because it's very well rounded.
Yeah, and especially in this car, I mean, we talk a lot about the GT3 over on Mondays when we do our GT3 series, but the GT3 obviously it's a much higher power than the Miata. We really want to focus with the Miata to teach drivers how to carry that speed. And fortunately, a lot of our drivers they come from real world driving, so they know how to carry that speed through a corner. So being that the Miata has been built on iRacing is such a almost perfect representation of the real world car. It's always super cool for me to see these drivers making the most out of the car on iRacing.
Definitely, Dad. This, just as you said, this is the basis for the MX5 series. Um, like we said, hopefully we'll be seeing some of the laps coming anytime soon. We've got about 3 minutes into the session here. That will be enough time to almost complete the flying laps.
And looking at my board here, we there's not even a driver that has gone out on track yet. And as I say that, looks like Bobby Ross has just put down a 148.5, Pecorini a 148.8, Diego Iglesias a 149.9. It looks like DiPiero and Hernandez there are also putting down their lap times. Let's see if that's going to start coming up on our leader as I say that they start coming right up.
Points will be awarded for the fastest qualifier here. Excuse me, the top five qualifier as well. Your current leader is Alessandro De Tullio, trailing everybody ahead with 58 points, with about almost 20 points compared to Eduardo Pecorini. So the rest of the field definitely has to challenge De Tullio here tonight to squeeze the gap between the leader and the points.
Yeah, definitely the drivers, being that they're all on a fixed setup tonight in the MX5, they're all really going to be pushing. You're going to see a lot of close racing and just a lot of tight racing tonight.
Definitely. So we've got Bobby Ross here. It's an impressive name to see on the leaderboard. He's one of the newer drivers getting into this iRacing. No stranger to racing, though. He's been on the Rysa LO206 karting circuit as a top runner, but he's quickly adapted to the Rysa world. I remember a couple months ago when we first started streaming these races, he was a mid-pack driver, and now he's gone up and gone to be a top five driver.
Yeah, and it's great to see all these drivers coming from real world karting and getting into iRacing, and then on the complete opposite side, on these times where we've been able to get back on track and just spend a little bit of time at the track given the current world conditions, it's also very cool to see a lot of these names on the go-karts because for me at least, I started getting to know these names here in the sim world, not so much the karting world, and now that I'm able to go spend some time at the track and see all these names, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, one of those names that you've gotten familiar with would be Emerson Fittipaldi Jr., right?
Yeah, Mo Fittipaldi Jr. And he was in our GT3 series. He's off to Europe now, starting with the Sauber Academy for Formula One, and just had his Formula 4 test. So we'll be missing him here at the ASiMRacing Network on the GT3 series, but sure to be having him back in the next few months when they're back.
Yeah, and a good luck to Emo, one of our Rysa fams here, or Sim Racing Network family
Ab-
members here.
Absolutely, you actually had some time with them. We actually spent the exact same week with Emerson, just on two separate days together.
No,
Uh,
that was pretty funny now that you mention it.
that was I'm sure that was a fun experience for you being able to do some engineering on the Formula 4 car.
So yeah, for the viewers, I do engineering work for some Formula 4 cars, and I would just so happen to be assigned to work with Mo Jr. and he did very well, being his first time ever in a Formula car. I think by the second session or halfway into the first session, he was already pushing the car,
And
and he was
especially
only
pushing it on a wet track too.
yeah on the dry track though when we did have the dry laps. The car wasn't really set up for races. It was more of a conservative setup. He was only about 4 seconds off. So imagine if we really did set it up for speed and whatnot. And I was really doing data work just to keep the car safe. But had I really stepped in and I was told not to, really coach him because they just wanted him to drive the car and get familiar with it, not really push it yet. But imagine once we do start getting some training into him, he'll definitely be a force to be reckoned with
Well,
once they do start driving formulas.
that's the thing about all these drivers that we've been working with. A lot of them are on the younger side, and we're seeing all of these drivers now, whether they're using karting or they're using the simulator, we are now seeing all of these drivers go through the progression of starting basically from zero to hopefully seeing a lot of these drivers make it up to Formula One.
Yeah, that's usually the ladder system here. It all starts with karting. Well, nowadays, honestly, it's now starting with sim racing.
Yeah.
You start with sim racing, you may or may not end up in karting. You end up in lower level formulas or sports cars, and then sooner or later you'll be in the professional level. And as we've got about 2 minutes left to go, Frankie Barroso, the real life Miata driver here, has reached the top of the leaderboard with a 147.990, only 2 tenths off Bobby Ross. Third is Cesar Lapointe, and fourth is Eduardo Pecorini, and fifth is Diego Iglesias.
And I think Mr. Bobby Ross has actually been pushed down to P3 by Alessandro Di Tullio, taking a 147.7,
Oh my.
and Frankie Barroso taking P2 with a 147.9. So Di Tullio, of course, one of our faster drivers, he's definitely known for being at the top of the field.
I don't know how he does it, but it just so happens every car he steps into, or every virtual car he steps into, he does it really well, getting near the top of the leaderboards every time.
That's right. Well, just a few seconds here left in qualifying. It looks like most of our drivers are finally laid down their qualifying times, and our starting grid will be coming up now in the next about 30 seconds, and we will be underway with the green lights for the first of our two heat race tonight. And we want to remind our viewers that if you don't mind at all, if you could give us a like on the stream, it would absolutely help both of our platforms and trying to continue to push the ASiMRacing series out, continue to grow the series, and continue to grow the network, trying to continue connecting drivers.
100%. Like, and if you do see this, whether on YouTube or on Facebook, please like and subscribe. We are the ASiMRacing Network here. We've got lots more content on the way besides streaming iRacing races, so sit tight for those. And without further ado, that is the conclusion of qualifying. In a few moments' time, you will be seeing the starting grid. And there it is. Starting on pole position is Alessandro Di Tullio, the local Miami driver. Starting second will be Frankie Barroso, the local Miami driver, part of the ASiMRacing team. Starting third, Bobby Ross. Starting fourth, Cesar Lapointe. Starting fifth, Eduardo Pecorini from El Salvador. Starting sixth, another Salvadorian, Diego Iglesias. Starting fourth, his brother, Pedro Iglesias. Starting eighth, Jerry DiPiero. Starting ninth, Jordan Hernandez. Starting 10th, Rodrigo Mendoza. And starting 11th, Alexander Sarling. And starting 12th, young Carter, Matias Orjuelas. Jose?
P13 is going to be Anthony Rand, followed by George DiPiero in P14, followed by Francisco Crecia in 16 and David Redman in P17. Giovanni Meneses in P18, and rounding out the field is Franco Cipulo in P19.
Well, the field is set. The cars are lined up. Got a little bit of some disconnection issue with some of the drivers here. Hopefully that'll get taken care of before the lights go down. We're about 15 seconds to go here before lights drop. Got 19 cars on the field today. A little bit shorter than usual. No, 25 is the usual. Nonetheless, the lights are being shown any minute now. Engines are revving, drivers are ready, and lights out, and away we go. Alessandro Di Tullio gets off, and it looks like Frankie Barroso has an even better start. They're side by side, and Frankie Barroso will take turn one with a clean start and a clean pass. And we've got a driver going off course that looked to be Cesar Lapointe, maybe some contact with another driver. We're going to have to look at that post-race. But Frankie Barroso has got a solid 3/10 lead going off from Di Tullio. And third would be Diego Iglesias, another strong driver with his countryman right behind him, Eduardo Pecorini. Jose?
And as the drivers come through the first set of corners here, it looks like Frankie Barroso still in P1, Di Tullio P2, Iglesias P3, and Pecorini charging up just about 3/10 behind Iglesias. Let's see what Pecorini can do. Pecorini is another one of our very fast, clean drivers, and that's what we really want to see tonight. If we want to see some tight driving, but we also want to see some really clean driving. We're all about that kind of a positive racecraft, so we really want to see that tonight.
And I'm taking a look at the replay. Cesar Lapointe lost it. He put two wheels into the grass on the inside, had some snap oversteer, and got collided with Bobby Ross. So very unfortunate. There's the replay right there. Very unfortunate for Cesar Lapointe. And Bobby Ross may or may not have to keep an eye on his water temperature as he got some frontal contact there from Cesar Lapointe. Nonetheless, though, we're going to keep watching here. Cesar Lapointe, maybe the lead there. Their leaders are. It looks like Di Tullio has closed. No, never mind. He has actually had his gap extended to about half a second. But I did notice that the gap between Iglesias and Di Tullio has increased. So we've got a solid 1, 2, 3, 4 battle for the lead here, and a Piero in fifth, ever so in the back. Don't count him out just yet. Looking here on the leaderboard as well.
And looks like Rudy, our ASiMRacing ringleader, did not make it to the grid tonight, unfortunately. Wonder what happened to him there.
Dinner must have gone on longer than usual. Nonetheless, let's take a look at this mid-pack here. As I had a prediction that it was going to be pretty tight. Seems like it is. Just below fifth place, there are about 3 or 4 drivers battling next to each other.
We jump on board Alexander Surley there. He's one of our local karting champions as well, right?
Yeah, I have seen Alexander Sarlin on the national karting circuit for LA206. I think he won at Pompano and probably other races as well that I haven't seen yet, but he is definitely a force to be reckoned with here, both in the real world and in the virtual world, as you can see that he is the leader of that pack going ahead. And another strong driver here is Francisco Creacia from El Salvador as well in 12th place. Fun fact, I believe this was the driver Rudy mentioned that he has his sim set up in a real karting chassis, so that's pretty neat for Croatia.
He's running the MX5 in a karting chassis?
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's cool. I've seen recently a lot more karting sims with full motion actuators and stuff, and how they can mount the base directly to the steering column. So good to see that karting is also making its way into the sim world. I know that there's not many in the way of actual karting sims, and definitely not many competitive sims, but hopefully we start seeing some of that.
Definitely, as the technology gets advanced in the sim world, the demand for the karting gets even higher. So there's other platforms such as Kart Racing Pro, and I think the other program is Kart Meet. I think I have them installed right here. I lost the name all of a sudden. Kart Racing Pro is one of them, and
Kartcraft.
Kartcraft, thank you.
Kartcraft's actually pretty fun because it's got support for VR. I just feel that it's too fast. Like, everything's moving around a little bit too fast.
Oh, well, funny you say that. You can believe me or not, but Emo said that the F4 car was slow.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of the excerpt from, I guess, the news article that they did, and he was talking about that it just from his body language, like, it just feels like the car was pretty tame compared to a kart.
Yeah, it's just a phenomenon, an illusion your eye does, because in karting you're so much more lower to the ground, and in the race car you have not only you higher off the ground, but you have more space to play with, so you have this illusion that you're going slower, you know.
And I'm sure with the amount of, well, the small amount of aero that that car has, definitely makes it a little bit easier to handle.
Oh, definitely, definitely. Not much for me as an engineer. I'll tell you that for most of the times we run with a very loose wheel. Excuse me. Not that much wind angle. There's not a huge difference from severe angle to the steepest angle to the regular angle.
So,
So in a sense, we've got DRS mode all the time.
so yeah, that
Oh,
was my next question. Well, go ahead. I think there's a.
I was just gonna comment on that. It looks like Alexander Starling has lost it in one of the turns as well. Very
Looks like
unfortunate
it.
for him.
Looks like there's a replay here. Let's see exactly what happened.
Okay. See him approaching one of the turns here. Oh, he lost it completely on his own. Way too hot.
Way too hot. Yep, that weight transfer really caught him out. So I was
How
gonna ask.
unfortunate.
Oh, go
It
ahead.
looked like he was. It looked like he was just catching up with his pack to close out. That was fifth place, I believe, with Jerry DiPiero. It looks like he was about to make his pack in with the front pack. You were saying?
No, I was gonna. We were just touching on the subject of downforce, and for a lot of our local people, when it comes to running downforce settings at Homestead, so you would say that it's a pretty low downforce
For that car, just for that
for
car.
that car, right?
I'm noticing here you're still running the replay. Yeah,
Let me
just
take a
for
look
that
here.
car, because there's not. It doesn't generate that much downforce to begin with. It's not a very fast car. The most at Homestead, the highest, the fastest it'll go is just a little less than 120 miles an hour. Or I think from a more experienced driver, it will go past 120 miles an hour. And at those speeds, downforce can it'll work. It'll do something. It just depends on how the wing elements are engineered.
Right.
But
Looks
mhm.
like we have another crash here. It looks like Anthony Rand might have had a small accident there. Not quite a big accident there. Took a pretty big
Ooh,
impact there.
yeah, I don't
That
think
was
that
pretty
engine will be in good
unfortunate.
condition. The engine won't be in good condition after that.
And trying to get it back on track. Looks like he might have dumped the clutch there a little bit too hot and got the back loose. So a little tough time there trying to get back on track as we go back over to live pictures. We're jumping on board Alessandro De Tullio. He's at about a second gap to Frankie Barroso behind him. Not really a huge surprise there, but it looks like Barroso's. Oh, looks like he's got quite a big pack of cars behind him. At least some of them putting quite a bit of pressure on him.
I wouldn't say it's that much of a surprise. I remember at Sebring they were 1 and 2, having very strong battles, Tulio and Barroso here. I just think that maybe Barroso, with his experience, he was able to adapt to Sebring a lot more than Tulio did that day. But nonetheless, Tulio has been able to show his natural talent here this evening.
Yeah, between the GT3 and the MX5, I mean, really and truly, any car that Alessandro gets in, he seems to put it up towards the top of the field every night.
Yep. A force to be reckoned with and on the national karting circuit as well. I've seen him in prestigious races being in the top three. So definitely not someone to joke around with here this evening. But who else can we look at
One of
this
our
right now?
younger drivers here, Matias Orjuela, I think he's one of I think probably the youngest driver on the field. He's got a Jordan Hernandez behind him in that red iRysa liveried MX5 there, the Burrell art on the side there, the door. Definitely Hernandez putting quite a bit of pressure on Matias. But Matias seems to be holding it quite well.
One of the youngest drivers on the circuit, in the field tonight, but definitely one of the more competitive ones as well. Matias Orjuelas is a factory Parolin driver as well, karting in places such as Italy for pretty much the same racing league where some Formula One stars got their first start. I've seen Matias Orjuelas race personally as well, and whenever he's in the mini category, that's usually the division he's racing in. He is, if it's in a local race, he'll definitely be a top two driver. If it's a national race, definitely he'll be a top 10, top 5 driver. So another driver to. He's also one of the drivers here in the field that is new to iRacing. That's why you probably haven't seen him. Um, Actually, if I do remember in the results, he has gotten top 5 finishes before, so it definitely is someone you cannot um, underestimate this evening.
He must be new to iRacing, but he's definitely been grinding it out with he's got a B level license with a 3.6 safety rating, 1500 on the I rating, so not bad for a new driver.
And we want to thank all the viewers we've got going on right now. We've got a solid pack of people here on Facebook and on YouTube. Just if you have any questions about the track, about ourselves, about the racing you see here, please feel free to ask. I know someone last time asked about strategies along Daytona, and that question was very appreciative.
Yeah, we absolutely love engaging with our audience, and we're here to do that as well. Unlike most other streams where a race is being broadcasted, we actually want to engage here with our audience. So definitely feel free to leave some comments, both over on YouTube and on Facebook here.
I think we need to briefly introduce ourselves because I think our audience on Facebook is rather new. Just very briefly, we still got to cover the rest of the action here. So why don't we start with you, Jose, since this is your network, your circus.
So the ASiMRacing network is kind of another branch off the whole Racing for Mental Health project, where we've been doing a lot of sim racing, but a lot of sim racing with a reasoning behind it, and being able to connect with all the people that we've connected with, being able to put in our efforts both in audio visual. That's where this whole ASiMRacing network came about. You know, it came about lots of minds coming together and doing one single job together, and you know that's just my little background in all of this is just being able to help set up this whole platform.
Yeah, it's a great platform nonetheless. I'm sure it's you mentioned it's helped you plenty of times in your quest for mental health.
Absolutely, it absolutely has.
And as for myself, my name is Anthony Asnar. You can follow me at Anthony __ Asnar and on YouTube as well with the same name. I do race engineering, or I'm a student of it thereof, and currently I do data work for karting, some mechanic work from karting, and some engineering work for some sports cars and Formula 4 cars. So I come into this series with more of the technical side, and also and I will mention that I've been sim racing for 6 years. So we do come in with some knowledge here, and pretty excited to share with the rest of you here. Like I said, any questions that you may have, feel free to share.
Absolutely. We're starting up here on lap 7 of lap 8 for our first race tonight. So,
Well, I think we should see our leaders because it seems like Barroso has closed up the leader. Sorry to interrupt you, Jose.
no, that's okay. Let's get back over to our leaders. Alessandro Di Tullio there. He's up on your screen as well, Anthony.
There he is. Definitely closing the gap Barroso has, look at me talking like Yoda, to Di Tullio. But the gap between Pecorini and Iglesias the gap between Pecorini and Barroso has definitely increased. The two countrymen here going at it pretty hard, just as Di Tullio and Barroso has. Looking here on my end of the screen, and it seems like there's a heated battle between Pedro Iglesias and Jerry Perio, and just as I mentioned in the commentator's curse, it had
We've had a
some
big accident
contact with.
right there between that would look
Yeah,
like
let's go
Jordan
ahead and see a
Hernandez.
replay of that.
Let's take a look and see what happened here to Jordan Hernandez. Oh, it looks like he almost lost the back there, and as he was doing that, he saw the accident and really had nowhere to go there. Quite an unfortunate accident for him. And we are under white flag conditions for our leaders, so jumping on board here with Alessandro Di Tullio. He's about less than half a lap left in his race here, as he's got Frankie Barroso just barreling down on him with about 3/10 of a gap behind him.
And so white flag here. Will Barroso make a move on Di Tullio here in the finishing turns? Going to be pretty tight. Looks like Barroso will go wide to try and get a better exit for the straightaway coming up right now. Gap has increased now to about half a second as compared to 3/10. He hasn't given up. Barroso is on his tail. Puts a tire in the dirt. It looks like Barroso will not do it. DeTulio will salute his team with a swerving, and your winner for the first race of the second round here of the iRysa Championship is Alessandro DeTulio, as he does a little Tokyo drift here in the first turn and does it clean. Way to go, DeTulio.
Kept it clean. Let's see. Is he gonna lose it? Is he gonna lose it? Oh, he lost it.
Oh,
Trying too hard.
went a little love tap with Barroso there in the end. Pretty sweet racing there. I'm sure race 2, usually in the tradition here, race 2 is a little bit more action-packed than race 1, with a lot of action, usually in this Miata series.
Yeah, I think drivers might actually use race 1 as their full-on warm-up and really hit it hard on the second race. So just in about 5 minutes here, 5 to 10 minutes here, we'll start seeing our second heat starting tonight.
Looking here, I'm trying to see the safest driver of the evening. For race 1 would be a tie between Eduardo Pecorini and Frisco Croatia with only one incident point. I'm trying to see who was the hard charger. I don't see it on your screen anymore. Let me go ahead on my behalf. Never mind, it changed. I don't know who the hard charger was in the first race, so my mistake there. Sure, we can pull that up later. But right now, we've got a brief 10-minute intermission here to just sort out any post-race penalties we need to go over here. So we'll be back in just a moment, everybody. Welcome back, and thank you for you all that have stayed with us here through our intermission. Just about to get ready to get racing underway. We've got about 40 seconds to grid here. Our warm up is over. Any minute now, we're going to be seeing the starting grid. Oh, we got the graphic in the way there, but I think I'll do my best to read it.
Oh.
Starting in pole position, Alessandro Di Tullio. Starting second, Frankie Barroso. And starting third, Eduardo Pecorini. Starting fourth, Diego Iglesias. We've got about 15 seconds to go, so I'm going to go through it. Piero, Mendoza, Orjuela, Sarlene, Hernandez, Ross, Trapullo, Croatia, Lapointe, Iglesias, Piero, Rand, Redmond, and Meneses.
Great job there, Anthony. That was actually my fault, and I apologize for that, but we'll get that sorted out as we are about to go green.
There we go. Got the grid set. Lights are on. They will be on a minute, excuse me. Drivers are revving their engines. Clutches are dumped and lights out, and the way we go. We've got a good start by Jordan Hernandez here, getting out of line to avoid some drivers real quick. And Pecorini as well, getting an amazing start. He is now side by side with Barroso, fighting for second, but it looks like Frankie will take the preferred line going on the inside there. Di Tullio has a solid lead, and oh no, it seems like Barroso got into some contact there with him. The driver, he is into the wall. Unfortunate for our second place race one finisher, but Pecorini will lead that pack here going into turn one. It looks like Barroso didn't get that much damage, so he may have a chance here as he fights his way through the rest of the field. But now we're looking on here through Pecorini as he's leading that pack here with his fellow countryman behind him, Diego Iglesias. Jared Piero, the local RySa driver as well. And now we've got Alessandro Di Tullio. And back to Luigi Piero here. No, don't worry about it. We've got some action here. Looks like Sarlene is breaking the draft here, and so is Bobby Ross, trying to do some overtaking.
And jumping on board here, Alexander Shirley. Let's see what this looks like from his cockpit view here.
Oh, he's got a driver on the inside. Good attempt by Sarlene here, but he won't be able to go through. But he's got, I believe that is Rodrigo Mendoza. And Bobby Ross is hard on his tail right there. You can see him in his mirror as he tries to close the gap and set up the move for the overtake.
And a shout out to Chris Hart here in our Facebook chat. Thank you for the support, Chris.
Sarley goes on the inside, and he makes it happen here. Maybe just side-swiping, trading some paint there with Rodrigo Mendoza, and he does it so clean would be an understatement there as he makes the pass. And sorry to interrupt your shout-out there, but yeah, shout-out to Chris over there. Appreciate the comment.
And Di Tullio already with a pretty decent 2-second gap here. He's got quite a bit of clear road. We had an accident just up there, right? Didn't we?
That was Bobby Ross. Either he had some contact from the rear, or he may have dropped the dirt coming off of the exit of the turn.
Let's see what happened here to Bobby Ross. Looks like that curb just caught that weight transfer and sent him into the wall. It looks like he had some impact, but it may not have been enough to take him out of the race there.
Good. Drivers do have a single fast repair. They will have to pit to use it, though. But glad to see Bobby Ross is back underway.
And oh, sorry, go ahead.
So I had to mention that Di Tullio has an even bigger gap on Pecorini than he had on Barroso. So this race may be in the bag, but we won't count our eggs until the race is over.
No, just about, we're about almost 2 laps in, and there's almost a 2.5 second gap from P1 to P2.
So we got Di Tullio in the lead out by himself. It looks like Pecorini may have made a slight mistake there. Diego Iglesias may be able to capitalize on it right now. And nope, not yet. And besides Pecorini and Iglesias, we've got another pack behind them with Piero and Sarlene. But now we're looking at the Pedro Iglesias here, part of the next pack, being led by Francisco Croatia. Had a driver there that may have slightly disconnected momentarily there, but he is back underway. Now we're looking at Bobby Ross here, one of the most improved drivers in our series. Now he's fighting to come his way back up the leaderboard alongside with Frankie Barroso, who's only one spot ahead of him.
Frankie Barroso down 9 positions from his starting position, unfortunately, after that first lap accident. Look, he's trying to push and work his way back through the field as he's starting up on lap 2 now.
Cutting curbs and cutting lap times. Frankie is definitely trying his best to make his way back up through the leaderboard. But as we look at that, we see Alessandro De Tullio going purple here, taking the best lap of the session so far. Still has a 3-second gap on Pecorini that has grown since I last mentioned it from the 2-second gap. Definitely shows why as he went purple. Now we're looking at Pecorini here trying to defend his position from Diego Iglesias. When we look here, Iglesias is probably going to get a tow from Pecorini as he gets closer and closer to the end of the straightaway here. If he keeps the pace going on, I might estimate that in 2 or 3 laps he will be able to overtake Pecorini. There he gets even closer and closer. And cutting it close there. The camera's misjudging the distance there. But Pecorini did have an attempt there to pass, Iglesias. Definitely trying to do everything he can to pass Pecorini. With only 5 laps to go as well, he's definitely pushing the envelope.
Definitely, and that gap in the front keeps growing. Let's see what our other drivers towards the back of the field are doing. We'll take Franco Cipulo. Let's give our man here, Franco Cipulo, some airtime.
It seems like Bobby Ross did overtake him last time we saw him. He had Bobby Ross behind him. He's now in front of him. Franco, definitely one of the drivers here taking full advantage of the COVID-19 quarantine period we're on here. Franco was, or I'm sure he still is, a karting driver as well. He is now a full-fledged sim racer, getting the whole package, quadruple screen setups, the full PC, everything. Franco's having a ball right now with his whole experience. As he said before, he likes to get the best experience possible.
Yeah, you can't blame him. You can't blame him for wanting to have the best of the best and trying to maximize that experience. I think a lot of us try to maximize that experience in whatever way we can, and you know, good for him to be actually be doing it.
Even down to the custom paint scheme as well. That scheme is, if you know Franco, you know that scheme is all him.
Yeah, and he's a big Valentino Rossi fan as well, so he runs that number 46 on just about everything that he drives.
Definitely. Now we've got here, let's see if Iglesias can try that again. This time he does it with a little bit more grace, but he definitely needs to calm down if he wants to properly catch up to him. Sooner or later, he will be able to make the overtake on Pecorini. And a big shout out to McGregor for following the stream.
And we've got Francisco Cracia in P6. This looks like he's up 6 positions from his starting position. He's got a 6/10 gap to the car behind him, so.
Oh, definitely. Good point. And the biggest charger of the race thus far, halfway to go, is the guy behind him, Pedro Iglesias, with 7 whole spots on their way. Francisco definitely leading that pack amongst them right now. That's definitely where the action is. There's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars in that train right there. It's Croatia, Iglesias, Mendoza, Hernandez, and Lapointe. And as I say that, De Tullio goes purple again. The young drivers killing it, increasing that gap to almost 4 seconds. Jose?
And Diego Iglesias here running in P3. He's still trying to get past Pecorini with just about a 6/10 gap there. Let's see what they're able to do. Just halfway done here with our second race of the night.
And I think we will see a move from Iglesias right now. Pecorini's moving to the inside preferred side of the track. And it seems like De Tullio has an issue. He is slowing down, probably on purpose to try and catch up the pack right now. De Tullio has been known to make things interesting for the rest of the drivers here when he has been carrying a lead. So let's see. We might have some action right now as De Tullio slows down to make this a 1-2-3 battle for the remainder of the race.
Yeah, he definitely closed off that gap. Pecorini took P1, so let's see what kind of battle arises as De Tullio's going to try to take that inside. Is he going to make it stick? Looks like he's going to get the pass. And Pecorini's going to... Oh, this is going to get interesting at this last several laps of the race tonight.
And it looks like Detulio's thinking about making the move on the inside there, but smartly ever so decides to wait for the straightaway coming up in just a moment here. Iglesias on his tail right now.
And quite the fact that you can't even see Detulio with how close he is to Pecorini.
And it looks like he's going to make the move right here now. He goes to the inside line, but will it be enough? Seems like Pecorini will do the over and under on him. Oh, but Iglesias is now side by side with Pecorini.
And just like that, Detulio finds himself back in the lead.
Definitely shows the sheer raw speed he has. He's able to just give up the lead and come right back into it.
The speed and confidence,
no.
and Pecorini went off, didn't he?
Oh no, what happened to Pecorini there? I thought Iglesias did for a second as well.
Looks like he went off track, but it may have not been a full crash. Let's take a look and see if...
Is Surly that we're looking at right here, not
yeah,
Pecorini.
This might have clicked the wrong one there. Let's take a look.
There it is, there it is. Right here in this turn. Oh no, and it seems like Iglesias, I guess he forgot to brake. He, as you could see, he rammed into the back of his bumper.
Quite a bit of damage back there.
Very unfortunate for Pecorini. He was fighting so hard. And it looks like Detulio wants to battle yet again. Oh, we're looking at the replay.
And back to life picture now, actually.
There it is. Pecorini, Iglesias is in the lead momentarily here as Alessandro wants a fight yet again.
Tremendous amount of confidence from he's a teenager, but he's he's damn good at driving, so that confidence really comes through tonight in the MX5.
It's been a clean night thus far. No black flags have been distributed just yet, as far as I can tell. Let me see here in the chat. Nope. Pretty good streak so far.
That's always fun to see when we get to see drivers giving us a clean race.
And let me see right here. We've actually have some clean drivers with with about a lap to go. Bobby Ross 0 points. Sarlene 0 points. Jerry DePiero 0 points. Pedro Iglesias 0 points. And Jordan Hernandez 0 points. Impressive driving so far. Big improvement for everybody since starting iRacing.
Yeah, it's been now probably close to 20 races that we've done across the GT3 and the MX5. So, and we've been fortunate enough that we've kept most of these drivers throughout all of the races. So to see the growth that these drivers have been able to put together has been pretty tremendous.
And we see Detulio going on the inside of Iglesias here, trying to keep the battling momentum going on. Might have done a chess move on Iglesias where he actually passed him in the same turn he let him pass on the previous lap.
And most of the field is just finishing up lap 6, and we should be getting a white flag in just a few moments.
And as they make their way to here through the last turn, it is white flag here in race 2 of round 2 of the iRysa MX5 Championship. Let's see what Detulio has to offer. But don't count out Sarlene and DePiero, who are sitting in the back there in 3rd and 4th. Got a penalty being reviewed right now, being declared by a driver. Will be handed probably a post-race penalty if it will go against his favor. We're looking at Sarlene here, who is doing his best to reach up the top 2 drivers here. He's got a gap of 1.3 seconds between the leader. Let's see if he'll close it up right now. He's doing his best to do so. I'm going to go ahead and look at Detulio on my end. So, never mind, there he is. He's definitely got the momentum to pass Iglesias. He's just about side by side with him, but he's on the outside. That is not the preferred line. Interesting to see what he will do next. Oh, and he goes on the outside, but Iglesias takes the better line. Very interesting way to keep this interesting.
Just a
Oh, yeah, go
few
ahead.
more corners here, and no, looks like Tulio either took it or Iglesias just let him by.
That was interesting because it seemed to me that Getulio got a little understeery, a little squirrely there, but he did manage to send it in through the pass. That may have been the race-winning move there, as it looks like Getulio's pulling away just briefly after overtaking Iglesias. But it's not over yet. I personally have had some troubles here at Okayama in these last couple turns. So as long as these drivers don't make a mistake, the standings will stay. And as we see them right now, they go through the last turn. We'll see what happens right here. It might just well as be Alessandro De Tullio sweeping round 2 here in the iRysa MX5 Championship, with Diego Iglesias coming in second, Alexander Serling third, Jerry DiPiero in fourth, and Eduardo Pecorini coming back to finish fifth.
And rounding out the rest of the grid, Francisco Cracia in P6, Frankie Barroso P7. Looks like he made it back up the field a little bit there.
Oh,
Cesar
yeah.
Lapointe in P8, Jordan Hernandez P9, Bobby Ross in P10. Looks like Bobby Ross had a big accident there. He went off at the end of the race there. Franco Chipulo P11, Rodrigo Mendoza in P12, down 6 spots from his starting position. Pedro Iglesias in 13, George DiPiero in 14th, Anthony Rand in P15, Matias Orjuela in P16, and Giovanni Meneses rounding out the field in P17.
Not a bad race there. Not a bad race at all.
No, I think that as we continue to do more and more of these races, like I said earlier, drivers are going to continue to develop their skills in the sim. A lot of them are coming from real world racing, so getting into the sim might be a little bit of a challenge for them. Might be a little bit different for them, but we've seen quite a significant progression um, in what drivers are being able to accomplish every single night that they race with us in it.
Definitely be interesting to see what entails next week, Wednesday, for round 3, which will be at Barber Motorsports Park. I'm trying to see here what would be the next GT3 race. I'm trying to pull up the schedule. It would be next Monday for anyone that is interested. If you want to see some GT3 action here on iRacing. But I'm sure the next track will be a good one. It always is. But until then, unless you got anything else to say, Jose?
Nope, just want to thank everybody for joining us tonight, both over on Facebook and YouTube. And my name's Jose, and just another thank you. Anthony?
And my name is Anthony. Have a wonderful night, everyone. Stay safe.